Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Yale School of Management Online Application Tips panel. My name is Laurel Grodman. I'm Managing Director of Admissions for the Yale School of Management. I'm also a proud graduate of Yale SOM class of 2006, so I'm so excited to welcome you here today. I'm going to turn things over briefly to my colleagues from the admissions team who are also joining us in order to introduce themselves. We'll start with Kate.
Hi everyone, my name is Kate Botello. I am one of the Associate Directors of Admission here at Yale SOM.
All right, my name is Jared Liu and I am Senior Associate Director of Admission at Yale School of Management, and great to be with y'all today.
Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca Melville and I'm the Director of Financial Aid at the Yale School of Management. Welcome.
Great, thanks so much. So under normal circumstances, I'd be letting you know that we are joining you live from Evans Hall, which is the home of Yale SOM. As you can probably see, we are not under normal circumstances today. We're joining you from our remote locations. The Yale community is doing our part to help prevent the spread of COVID-19, and so we're all working remotely today. I hope that your experience of our online applications tips panel will not look all that different from if we were broadcasting from Evans, but I will ask you to bear with us in case we have any hiccups along the way. I know many of us are encountering this new normal of increased technology, but we'll do our best to keep things moving for you today. And of course, on behalf of the entire admissions team, I hope that you and yours are well wherever in the world you are. So the aim of today is to walk you through our application materials, give you some tips on how to complete your application in the coming months for the class of 2022 at the Yale School of Management. Of course, if you are targeting a further out application date in the coming year or years, today's content should be relevant to you as well. We'll start with a very brief overview of the school. We'll walk through the elements of the application, and I will leave plenty of time at the end for questions coming from the audience. I ask that you guide those questions through the Q&A function. Our colleague Kristen is working behind the scenes to pull those questions together, and we'll look forward to hearing from you a little bit later in the session. So like I said, before we dive in, I'd love to give you a brief overview of the school. And in talking about the Yale School of Management, the best place to start is always with mission. And our mission is to educate leaders for business and society. This means we aim to develop leaders who can think broadly about the challenges we face in an increasingly complex world, and with the ability to be decision makers in environments that call for multiple stakeholders, influencers, and consequences. We believe our mission has never been more relevant than it is today. And in order to put that mission into practice in very real ways, we have three key distinctive features that we believe really set us apart and make us unique from other business school programs, and I'll touch upon those briefly. We are the business school most integrated with our home university. So as a member of the Yale SOM community, you truly are a member of the broader Yale University community. And that takes place both inside and outside the classroom in myriad ways. We are the most distinctively global US business school, so you'll have lots of opportunities to engage globally during your time at Yale SOM. Much of that is fueled by our founding of what we call the Global Network for Advanced Management. And that's a partnership of 30 schools across the globe that gives you access to students, faculty, staff, business leaders, and experts in pretty much every major market in the world. And then lastly, we are the best source of elevated leaders for all sectors and regions. And so much of that is rooted in our unique integrated curriculum. So rather than learning about business in a very siloed approach that treats problems differently from a marketing perspective or a finance perspective or operations perspective, our integrated curriculum gives you a meaningful perspective on all of the stakeholders relevant to an organization, both inside and outside of that organization, and pulls from a very multidisciplinary approach and allows you to approach the problems that you'll be studying in a way that much more reflects how you'll encounter challenges in the real world. What all of this means from an evaluation perspective and thinking about your application is we're looking for leaders who are going to thrive in this kind of environment, who are intellectually curious and excited about the idea of learning from different disciplines, who have a global mindset, meaning that you're open to voices that are different from your own. So these are the kinds of things that you're going to want to think about as you are putting together your application for the Yale School of Management. Turning to the next slide. So here you'll see the various components of the application, and we'll go into more detail about this as my colleagues join in just a little while. I do want to also draw your attention to the application deadlines. And so the most relevant ones to focus on at this point are round 3 and round 3 extended. As many of you might have heard, this week we made an announcement that in reaction to the very unusual circumstances that we're finding ourselves in, we want to make sure that we provide as many flexible options for the future community members of the Yale School of Management, and want to make sure that our application is accessible to all of you in these somewhat unpredictable times. We've been hearing from you. We understand that there's been test center closures recently. Some of you might have had to quickly and abruptly leave your school setting or your professional setting, and all these things can have an impact on your ability to get an application in the expected timeline. So we wanted to present options both for those who are ready to move forward with their application and get a decision as soon as possible, and for those who need a little bit more time. So round 3, our application deadline will remain April 14th, and if you submit your application by that deadline, you'll hear a response from us on May 19th. The one caveat that I will add there is we want to provide a little bit extra flexibility for those who might need a bit of extra time to get their testing underway. And so if you submit your application for round 3 on April 14th, you have an additional 10 days to get us your test score. If you're able to do that, then we'll be able to issue your decision on time for May 19th. If you're unable to schedule or get your test score at that point, we will roll your application over into our round 3 extended deadline. In addition, in round 3, I would highly encourage anyone who will need to secure a visa to attend the Yale School of Management, if at all possible, to submit by the round 3 deadline in order to ensure you'll have as much time as possible to go through the visa process and ensure a smooth transition into New Haven for the early fall. Like I mentioned, though, we want to make sure that we're providing access to people in a variety of circumstances right now. So if round 3 is not a reasonable timeline for you at this point, we have our round 3 extended option. And in that case, we will need your application in full with testing and all components by May 27th. And we will be able to render a decision on that application in the second half of June, sometime in mid to late June. And so hopefully that provides an array of options no matter where you are within that process. We recognize that this is a challenging time. And if people have additional questions about how these deadlines will work, we can certainly address it in the Q&A section a little bit later. And so with that, before I transition over to our panelists to go into the specifics, I thought I would answer a broad question that we often receive, which is, what is it that you're looking for in an SOM candidate? So I'll say there is no golden ticket to admissions at Yale SOM. We take a holistic approach to reviewing your application, which means that we look at all of the individual components in concert with one another. We are very mindful about how we structure our application. We are only asking you questions that are going to be informative in the way that we are evaluating you. So hopefully you'll find it to be a relatively streamlined application process. And essentially, when it comes down to it, we're looking to understand 3 things. We're looking for your academic preparedness. So Yale SOM is a very academically rigorous program, and we want to make sure we're bringing people into the program who are set up to succeed and hit the ground running. We're looking for evidence of professional impact, and so we're looking to understand how you both lead and collaborate in a professional setting. And then lastly, we're looking for engaged community members. So we are hoping that you'll come to the Yale SOM and engage in our community during the time you're here, engage in the communities that you become a part of thereafter. And so we're looking for evidence of the ways in which you've participated in the communities that you've been a part of to date. So with that, I will hand it over to Kate to launch into the academic elements of our application.